Hello, today we're going to talk about determining slope and y-intercept. When we're talking about the slope and the y-intercept of a line, we're talking about information that describes that line. So when we're talking about the slope, we're talking about the movement of the line. Is it going up? Is it going down? How much is it moving by? Is it going up by 3 and over by 5? The y-intercept is the coordinate where the point in the graph intersects, so where the line intersects right at the y-intercept. In cases like this, the x is always going to be 0 because it's right on that y-intercept. Okay? The graph represents the linear equation y equals -2/3 x plus 4. We're going to find the slope using the points 0.4, which is right here, and at -3, 6. Remember, when we're looking at slope, we want the change in the y's over the change in our x's. So we're going to take our y's and we're going to subtract. So we're going to take 6 minus 4. And then we're going to have our x's -3 minus 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. -3 minus 0 is -3. So we have a slope of -2/3. We also take a look at this line and we see that it's passing through this point right here, which is at 6, 0. If I were to use these coordinates, I could also find the slope. So I could take 0 minus 4 over 6 minus 0. And that gives me -4 over 6, which is the same as -2/3. So I still have the same slope. I can compare these two, where I have 0 minus 6 over 6 minus -3. When I have them like this, I notice that I have a negative of subtraction, so I'm going to change to add the opposite. And I'm going to get -6 over 9, which when I simplify becomes -2/3. So my slope the slope is -2/3. Doesn't matter, any 2 points on a line. If I do that change in y over change in x, it will all be the same slope. All right, if x is 0, y is going to be where the line crosses at the y-axis. So in this case, it's going to be 0, 4. If I wanted to figure out what the y-intercept is, I could also take and replace the x and substitute it in with 0, -2/3, and replace that x with 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So 0 plus 4 gives me 4. So that means the y-intercept is at 0, 4, which we see that in our line. Is this a proportional relationship? No, it's not. It's crossing at another point other than at origin. Okay. We can determine the rate of change in the initial value. Linear equation shown is written in the slope-intercept form of an equation. Its graph is a line with a slope of m and a y-intercept b. The slope is m. We use m for slope because it's talking about the movement of the line, looking to see if it's rising or if it's lowering. And then the b is your y-intercept. These can also be talked about as the m being the rate of change and the b being your initial value. This is where it starts, okay? So you'll notice that it's the same equation, but they can have two different meanings. A phone salesperson paid a minimum weekly salary and a commission for each phone sold, as shown in our table. We can confirm that the relationship is linear and give the constant rate of change and the initial value. So we can see that we have a table here, and for 10 phones sold, the salesperson has a weekly income of $480. And 20 phones, we have $630 for the week, and so forth. We can find the rate of change of each. If I take the 630 minus the 480, that gives me 150. And if we take 20 minus 10, I get 10. If I simplify 150 over 10, I get 15. And we can do the same thing with the next, and we find that our rate of change is constant at 15. What this means is that for every phone sold, they're going to get $15. That's what that means. We can find the initial value of where it begins by looking to see where it is at 0. And so we can take this information and we can create a table. And we know that at 10 we had 480, and at 20 we had 630. And we found by looking for our rate of change that the difference between these two is 150 to go from here to here. So if I subtract 150 here, then 150 from 480 is 330. From here to here, change by 10, so we subtract 10 and subtract 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. So this is going to be our initial. So if the salesperson doesn't sell any phones that week, how much does he make? He makes $330. So this is his actual salary. So his salary for each week is $330. We can use these tables to find the slope and the y-intercept of the line represented in each table. So we are going to find the rate of change, or the difference in our y values over our difference in our x values. So, and it doesn't matter, you can choose any two. So let's do 2 and 4. So we have 32 minus 22 over 4 minus 2. And I get 10 over 2, which simplifies down to 5. I can take the 42 minus 32 and 6 minus 4. And that's 10 over 2, simplifies to 5. Doesn't have to be side to side. I can even do the 2 and the 8. I can take 52 minus 22 over 8 minus 2. 52 minus 22 is 30. 8 minus 2 is 6. Simplify that, equals 5. So my slope, or my rate of change, is 5. Now, to find the initial, or the y-intercept, I can look to see how these are going down. So from 8 to 6, I'm going to subtract 2. From 6 to 4, I'm going to subtract 2. 4 to 2, subtract 2. So from 2 to 2 minus 2 is 0. Here, I'm going to subtract 10. Subtract 10. 22 minus 10 is 12. So my y-intercept, or my b, is going to be 12. This one, I have 1 and 8, 2 and 15, 3 and 22, and 4 and 29. So I'm going to find my slope, pick any two. Let's take 15 minus 8. And 2 minus 1. 15 minus 8 is 7. So it simplifies to 7. 22 minus 15. And my x is 3 minus 2. That's 7. That's 1. So do I have a constant? Yes, I do. My slope is 7. My y-intercept, So between here and here, I subtracted 1, subtract 1, oops, subtract 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 29 and 22, if I take, I get 7, so subtract 7, subtract 7, subtract 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. So my y-intercept in this case is going to be 1. This is talking about how they come up with the slope-intercept form of an equation, which is the y equals mx plus b. And we're going to find out where that comes from. So let L be a line with a slope m and the y-intercept b. Circle the point that must be on the line and justify your choice. So we need to, if we have a line, and this is our slope, and this is our y-intercept, which point must be on the line? Recall that slope is the ratio of change in y to change in x. So b minus 0 over y minus b, or 0 minus b. Is that going to work? So if I have my y minus my b, and my x minus my 0, I can simplify that. We always want to get y by itself. And so if we want to get y by itself, what should we have to move? Well, I can simplify this, and this is going to be m equals y minus b over x. Okay, and that's the step right here. Now, if I want to get y by itself, I have to move the b and the x. Well, I have to move this x. I can't move the b until I move that x out of the way. And as we've already learned, I can do that by multiplying both sides by x. And then I get mx equals y minus b. Now I can move the b. I can add b to both sides. And then I'm going to get mx plus b equals y. Just to make this more uniform, I can rewrite this, making sure that each side stays looking exactly the same, just changing the sides. So y goes from the right to the left, and then mx plus b goes on the right-hand side. Okay? So that's how they came up with that equation. We're going to find the slope and y-intercept of line in each graph. They're very kind and gave us 2 points to work with. So I have at 0, 1, and I have a point at 2, negative 3. And I want to find the slope. And then I want to find the y-intercept. So let's find the slope first. So slope is the change in y over the change in x. So I have negative 3 minus 1. And I have 2 minus 0. Double checking, the 3 and the negative 3 and the 2 are together, and then 0 and the 1 are together. Okay? Negative 3 minus 1 is the same thing as negative 3 plus negative 1. So that's going to be negative 4. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So my slope is going to be at 2. Now they want us to find what our y-intercept is. The y-intercept, we know, is passing through this point. It has 0 for their x value and a value for the y. It is not going through the origin, so my y-intercept is at 1. When I look at this one, I have a point here, and then I have a point here. So we have 0, negative 15, and we have 3, 0. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. Now we want to find the slope. Change in y's, 0 minus negative 15. My change in x's, 3 minus 0. This is the same as add the opposite, which is 15. 3 minus 0 is 3. Simplify that, I get 5. So my slope is 5. My y-intercept, where is it crossing the y-axis? So at this point here, my x is 0, my y is at negative 15. Find the slope and y-intercept of these. So we're going to look for our change. And I happen to notice that if I add 6, add 6, add 6, add 6, that's going to give me each of these. And then these are going up by 2's, by 2's, by 2's. Remember when we had the constant is y over x? Well, the constant and the slope are the same. So if I take my 6 over my 2, my slope is going to be 3. My y-intercept x has to be 0. And then my y-intercept is going to be whatever my y is. My x is 0, my y is 1. So look at number 6. What's my slope? And now what is my y-intercept? If you have any questions, please make sure you come see me.